Okay, and I'm going to also share my screen. Okay, so you should be able to see the screen now. One last thing, I am going to turn off my camera on this, and you should be able to see the screen, but not my camera on this now. So again, what's due this week is we have our last practice round. That's the fourth practice round. There will be no new decision menus added in the fourth round. The fourth round is one more chance to practice. Now, last week we added the TQM round, and I'll go through that one more time today if you would like. But the fourth round, you've seen all the decision menus. We added the HR menu in round 2, which was only 2 new decisions, and we added the TQM, which is a little more complex. We added that last week in round 3. So in round 4, there will be no new decision menus, just another round of practice, a way for you to, again, you can replay the round as many times as you want. I don't believe I put another video under this week for the CAPSIM simulation. Let's see if I did. All right, we didn't put another video out there. Yeah, no, so I just put a reminder that your last round is due, but I didn't put a video for the CAPSIM simulation. So we can talk about it again today if you would like. If you have any specific questions to the simulation, we can talk about that today as well. But I really want everybody to focus on finishing it up this week. Next week, we will start the team competition rounds in the simulation, along with your team strategy project. So you've already been given a company assignment. You've already done a revised mission and vision statement with your team. That's the very first step in the strategic management process. We're going to move on to the second step, which is the SWOT analysis, and we're going to learn how to use the SWOT analysis to set strategic priorities that will guide the rest of your strategic plan. So we'll start those two things simultaneously next week. But in order for anyone to be put on a team, remember that the rule is for everyone, the rule is that you have to finish all 4 practice rounds. And there's a reason for that. I don't want people being put on a team when they don't understand the simulation, they can't really contribute to it. So they're letting everybody else do it for them. No, that's not the reason we're going through this process. It's supposed to be a learning process for everyone. So the rule is you can't be put on a team until you finish all 4 rounds. What we would like to do to receive a 100 on this assignment is to achieve the 50th percentile in every round, which would give you a 50th percentile at the end of the simulation cumulatively as well. Okay, so would y'all like for me to go through? We'll take a look at it. Is that something we want to do today? See, I'm not getting, anybody can speak up. If you would rather not, that's fine. Just let me know. I'm going to take a quick peek at where everybody is in the simulation and finishing up your practice rounds. And I can see, as you can see, we have a very large class. So let's just take a look at, look at the balanced scorecard for the class as a whole. And I can see most people have finished the 3rd round. There's some people who have not finished the 3rd round. So a couple of things you want is you want your score to be going up, not down. If your score is not going up, your score should have improved. It should have improved every round. Like you see, Edgington has finished all 4 rounds, and the score went up every round. Went down in round 2. I would have gone back to figure out why my score went down in round 2. Downs, you can see the score is going up. That's what you would expect. Round 3 introduces you to the TQM, which that should help your company significantly in terms of improving efficiencies, reducing your costs, and increasing your profits. It's a huge benefit. Once you get used to the TQM menu, you're going to love it. So if your score is going down, if you start off with a higher score in round one than in round two, then we need to look at what happened. You know, if it's going down, it means you're not going in the right direction. You know, that's one of the key questions we ask ourselves in strategic planning. How do you know if your plan is working? You know, if your plan, you know, your plan's working if all the indicators are pointing in the right direction. You know, and the balanced scorecard, as you remember, includes a lot of different indicators, not just financial, but also internal business processes, also the customer, whether the customer is getting happier, more pleased, more satisfied with your product or less satisfied. And then your employees as well, whether or not they're getting more productive and whether they're staying with your company. In other words, whether the turnover rate's going up or down. And so all those things should be pointing in the right direction. If they're not pointing in the right direction, then something's not working. You're going to have to go back and tweak your strategy or maybe change it altogether. All right. So, and we'll take a look at, let's take a look at someone who, here's one, I'm going to log into one, where the score didn't go down, but it also didn't go up in round two, and round three has not been completed yet. So, we will go into one. Again, I'm not picking on anyone. This is just for the entire class to learn. We can learn from each other. But if I use an example, oftentimes that helps. So I can see that in round three, some decisions have already been uploaded. But before I go to round three, I want to see what happened in round two. So I'm going to look at my debrief report for round two and my balanced scorecard. And I'm just clicking on the score for round two. And what I notice is I'm no longer at the 50th percentile. I was above the 50th percentile in round one. You need a score of higher than 50 to get to the 50th percentile in round two. Why is that? Well, because your competitors are getting better and the bar is raising in each round. The bar is raising because your competitors are investing to grow as well. So what is expected for you to reach the 50th percentile is more in round two than it was in round one. It's going to be more in round three than it was in round two, and so on and so forth. So it continues to go up from there. You know, what I'm seeing around two is that, you know, most of us we're going to be struggling a little bit on profits and contribution margin around two, but this is really low. We need to take a look at that. Our inventory carrying costs are not bad, but they're less than optimal. I'm not hitting the mark on my product specifications. My customer buying criteria is 0. I probably stocked out at some point because my customer accessibility is 0, although that number is really hard to get up. And normally it takes until around like 4 or 5 before you can get that up significantly. My employee productivity is not very good, so I see a lot of things that I can really improve. Now let's go to my industry report to see what actually happens. That's the Foundation Fast Track. Again, this is the same report that you'll get in your decision menu that you can look at in order to make decisions. So I can immediately see that I have a negative profit, which that's not acceptable. So my profits were not only not good, they were negative. So I've got to fix that. My business model's not working. I didn't lose a lot of money, but you don't want to lose any money. We're not a nonprofit. I can immediately, it's not good. You can see that, yeah, it looks like I am not using enough second shift capacity. We'll take a look and see what happens. I didn't sell anything in my Apple. I've got a suspicion here of what happened. Yeah, I don't know. I believe maybe this team may not have added plant capacity in the first round when they are indeed the Apple product. We'll have to go back and check. And And also my Able product is not as good. And I can see one of the biggest problems already is going to be, if this is going to be appealing to the low tech and the high tech, my price is a little bit higher than what it should be. And so we have some issues there. And also, my Able product is not as competitive when we look at the age of the product. It's aged out. We didn't R&D it in round one. So we have some issues. These issues might require that we go all the way back to round one to fix, but let's just see what happens. We might be able to fix some of them in round two. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and redo round two first before I go on. And because I think there are some issues we need to fix in round two. And I will continue the decisions. I'm going to try to go through this pretty quickly, guys, because I know a lot of you are already finished with round two, but let's see what happens here. I'm going to go to the R&D, and what I see here, oh, yeah. Y'all see this too, don't you? What's happening with Apple, guys? And I'm going to have to go all the way back to round one to fix this, aren't I? What's happening with Apple? Anyone? Does anyone want to attempt an answer here?
Is it that there's no capacity to be producing apples, so there's material costs, but nothing's actually being like put out in the market?
No, where is Apple on this perceptual map? Is there a segment out there?
It's outside the circle
Oh.
where customers don't want to purchase.
Yeah, so that's why we have a 0 under that measure that said customer specifications. It's not meeting anybody's. Right now, it's way out there, and there will eventually be, in maybe 4 rounds, there will be a market for this. It's way out there. The cost of it would be extremely high for the Apple product. There is not a market there for it. We want the products to be inside the bubble. And then we have Able, which we're moving from the intersection. So Able is our high tech. Apple is not meeting anyone's needs because it's outside both circles. All right. So this fix would take, the reason why it continued to work for 1 round is it took a while to get the new innovative Able product to market because of this huge change here. So we would have to go all the way back to round one to fix this. And what we would have to do is move Apple into the high tech. And you see the red Able is now. I'm probably going to leave Able in the intersection for 2 rounds. But right now, moving Able into the high tech and then having Apple way out here into outer space, basically, where nobody is. I mean, there is no market there. There's no segment bubble there at all. There might be 1 or 2 people who would buy this product. It's just so high tech. No one knows how to use it yet. It's way above, way beyond its time. So I don't know what we were doing here. So that was and the performance is not that great. We got a well, the performance is an 8. It's not great, but the size is teeny tiny. So it's a product that nobody has a use for yet. And so we would have to go back to, so I'm going to exit out of this, and this would require going all the way back to round one. So let's find another example. It was that the issue there was R&D, and I was suspicious of that, was mainly suspicious that something was going on with the R&D when I saw on the balanced scorecard. You can see, well, round two, once we processed round two, you would especially be able to see that the customer buying criteria was zero, almost zero in round 2. I don't know if you remember. So we are going to have to replay round 1 in order to fix this issue. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to, let's go back to and take another look at another example that where the problem isn't so extreme. We have to go all the way back to round 1. So let's pull up, go back into the balance scorecard. And I'm going to pull up another example. So what I'm looking for is an example of a student where you met the, here's one with Oaks. You met the, not really though. I'm looking for somebody who met the 50th percentile in round 1, but did not in round 2. And I think Weems probably got really close to it. 49 is pretty close to the 50th percentile, but then your score went down in round 2. So let's go log into that one and see what happened. Again, any of these, very first thing you're going to ask yourself is, where did I go wrong? And try to fix the main weakness first before you begin developing a growth strategy. So I'm first of all going to look at our debrief reports. I'm going to the balance scorecard, and I'm going to click on my round 2. This will not be at the 50th percentile. And what am I going to see? Well, customer accessibility is really low. I'm going to assume that maybe we stocked out, and we did. My profits are not good. They're 0 out of 5 contribution margin, 0 out of 9 profit. So I have a profitability problem and I have a stocking out problem. So now let's look at the industry report. I'm going to go to my foundation fast track and to round 2. And I'm going to see, yes, I did lose money. I'm in the negatives here. My return on sales, which is the same thing as the net profit margin, is negative. So we got a problem with our business model. We lost money, net income loss. Our capacity utilization is not good. We want this yellow bar to be about like where Baldwin and Chester is. You want to utilize not just your first shift capacity, which is the purple bar. You want to go all the way out to where this yellow bar is and utilize some of the second shift as well. You don't get any points unless you're utilizing 100% of your first shift capacity. Okay. So what I can see happened here is a better problem to have, but it's still a problem, and that is we ran out of stock. How do I know that? Well, there's 0 inventory left here. So I might have a good product. In fact, you can see from this chart that I have the best product on the market, but I didn't realize the sales because I ran out of stock. So I didn't produce enough. I've probably under forecasted and I didn't produce enough. So that problem, again, is a better problem to have. I'm not going to necessarily change my product specifications or my price, but I am going to increase my forecast and my production on my able product. I lost out. I also had the best product in the high-tech market as well, but I ran out of stock. And I caused some other teams to run out of stock as well, because I gave them, what happens is when you run out of stock, this is your potential, and this is what you actually sold. And when you run out of stock, you give all of those lost sales to your competitors. So I caused other teams to run out of stock because I did under forecasted, right? I was too conservative. You want to be conservative in your forecast, but not that conservative. So I am going to replay round 2. So I'm going to redo the round. This is going to be an easier problem to fix. Let's go down, redo the round, update that. Okay. Now let's go into round 2. And I'm going to immediately increase my round score. And here's how I'm going to do it. I'm going to go in there and see this. Now, it doesn't erase your original decision, so I can modify the original decisions. Let's see what we did in the R&D area. And I can see here's my Apple product, and there's my Able product that's in the intersection. Both of them look fine. I'm not going to make any changes to my R&D. Let's go to my marketing decisions, and my price and my investments here are good. But look, this forecast is way too low, way too low. What should it be? Okay, well, let's go back and see what we sold in round one. What did we sell in round one? In round one, I actually sold just in round one with my current Able product. I sold 1509 and I only had 63 units left. So I would expect to sell at least 1509 this round and more than that because the segment growth rate is 10% a year in the low tech segment and 20% a year in the high tech segment. So I'm expecting if you just multiply that 1500 times 1.15, and you're going to see that, I think a conservative estimate here would be 1550. I think it's very conservative. Now for my Apple product, that one's going to be a little bit harder to forecast. But one thing that I can do is say, well, first of all, my Apple product won't even be ready to produce until the middle of the year. All right. And that is May. So I won't even be able to sell it until May. So I got half a year of no sales. That on top of the fact that, in the high tech segment, the highest seller was my Able product. And last year it only sold 553. So even if I was the top seller, I'm not going to sell more than 553. And that combined with the fact I only have a half a year to be able to sell it, that my estimate's going to go way down from there. So I think 550 is too high for the Apple product. And the Apple product, keep in mind, I'm going to go with here, maybe 350 is going to be realistic. And the Apple product, keep in mind, that is, unless I looked at it wrong, that is the high-tech product. That is this segment here is the high-tech segment. So we should be charging more for the Apple than Able because it's in the low-tech segment, not less. We should be charging more. So on top of the fact we're losing money with the Apple product. So we're going to have to do two things. One is let's go up. You can go all the way up to 45 on your high tech. Let's go up to 38.95 on it. And then secondly, we will reduce the promotion and sales because A, we only have half a year to sell this product, and B, it's a niche product. It's a smaller segment. We don't have as many units to spread those promotional costs over. Next round, I will increase my promotion and sales budget for my Apple product. But for this round, not so much. So I'm going to go with 350 and 1550. I do think those are too conservative, or not too conservative. They're conservative estimates, but the two of them are both conservative. Hold on just a minute. Okay, so what we're going to do, if 1550 is our estimate, our forecast, then we're going to have to produce more than that so we don't run out of stock, just because we know we were probably a little conservative in our estimate. And excuse me, we only have 63,000 units left. So we're going to go up to 1,600 in our production here. I do think 600 is too much. We'll have a lot of stock left over there. I think 450 will be plenty for our Apple product. I don't think we need to add another 100 because, again, we can run 2 full shifts with our Apple product. And at this point, I don't think we're ready to add any more production to our Able product. The reason is that when we introduce it for the entire year, it's going to cannibalize Able's sales in the high-tech segment, meaning it's going to take away some of Able's market share in the high-tech segment. That market share will be replaced by our true high-tech product, which will be Apple. So I'm not ready to add production capacity because I can go all the way up to 1,800, 900 times 2 for first and second shift in my Able production capacity. My Apple is actually my high tech. So you want a lower automation on your high tech than your low tech. We can go up let's see. We can go up to 5 with our low-tech product. We want our low-tech to be fully automated one day if we can. But the problem with spending too much on automation on our high-tech products is that it slows down the R&D process because it takes longer to change over robotics than it does with your low-tech products. Because when you're using human beings, it's easy to train human beings how to change their production. It takes more time to reprogram the robotics. So we will spend some money on recruiting to try to improve our productivity, and we will spend some money on employee training too. None was invested there. All right, so that's going to lower our turnover rate and increase our productivity, so reduce our overtime needed. All right, and then lastly, on our finance page, we're looking at it again here. That's a lot of money. Let's see, I'm gonna borrow 500 short term, and instead I'm gonna go up a little bit more on my long term. A long term debt, you have 10 years to pay off. Short term, you have to pay back the very next year. All right, that tends to lower your profitability. And let's take this up a little bit more. In fact, I'm going to go up to 7 million. For that, we are investing a lot. Let's go up to 7 million. We have R&D investments, we have automation investments, we have plant capacity investments, we have employee training investments. And again, as long as this piece of your pie, this long-term debt, as long as it doesn't get close to a half, right now it's 33%, which is good. You're fine. You can keep borrowing every round if you need to, and a lot of teams will borrow just about every round. All right, so I'm going to go to my pro formas. What am I checking for? I'm checking my income statement to make sure there isn't any red, and there's not any red. Well, there's red here. I take that back. I was going too fast. All right, my Apple product's still losing money, so I'm going to go back to my marketing page. All right, and I will charge a little bit more for the product, and on top of that, we will reduce the sales budget just a bit. Well, let's go down to 500 on the sales budget, okay? And so reducing your cost, increasing your price are the ways that you can make the business model work. Now we're making money, not a lot, but we expect to make a lot more money once we get the product fully in production for an entire year. All right. So let's take a look at my pro forma balance scorecard. Again, this is projected, and it will not be the same as the actual because this is a projection. Pro forma means projected. It won't know until you advance the round, until all the competitors enter their decisions. It won't know yet what your actual score, balance scorecard score will be. So I feel like this is going to be, it's an improvement over the first round, and this will hit the 50th percentile. So I'm going to save that, and I'm going to exit out, go back to, let's go back to, and we are going to now go to the next round. Advance. You won't be able to see your score until you advance it to the next round. All right. And let's go back to the dashboard. All right, so we are at the beginning of round 3. When I look at my debrief reports, I see my balance scorecard. And yeah, I actually did a little bit better. So I am now 57. I'm at the 62nd percentile round 2, 61st percentile overall. Feel like that's putting me in a really good spot. My scores are going up, not down. So far, my business model is working. So I'm going to continue on to my next round, continue to decisions. And remember, round 3, we added the TQM menu. All right, so I'm going to go through this whole thing and I'm going to see, well, let's see do I need to do any tweaking? Yes, I need to continue tweaking my Apple. I want my Apple to be as close to cutting edge as possible. So I am going to increase my performance. I'm going to go to 9 on my performance. and I'm going to reduce my size. I'm going to go to 10 on my size, okay? Let's recalculate. In fact, you're going to be R&Ding your Apple product just about every round, but you see now with this Apple, it's still within the bubble. I don't have it down here in no man's land, you know, in outer space, but I would like to call outer space. Nobody's down there. All of your customers are in these two bubbles. So if your product is R&D'd outside the bubble, you won't get any sales. That's a loser. So let's go to, that's the first round. Let's go to marketing. And I'm going to keep my prices the same. I might take my Apple product down just a little bit more. Let's take it down to $32.45. What you're going to find is in the low tech, your Apple product, or your Able product, that is, your low tech products are going to get cheaper and cheaper, and price is the number one buying criteria in the low tech segment. In my high tech, I'm going to really increase my promotion, try to get my sales up. All right. Get my sales and my promotion budget higher so I can get the word out. Let's see what this does to my benchmark prediction. Let's hit the recalculate. And I think that's a pretty good estimate of my sales for my high-tech product. Actually, this usually is wrong, but I think it's correct for this round. Every now and then it is. For my low tech, we're going to take a look at what Able sold last time. It sold, wait, that's not going to be from round one. Let's go to reports, to my production analysis here. And you can see, well, it sold about what we expected, 1610, and I don't have very much product left, do I? 38. So I think it's still going to be successful. For that reason, I'm going to go up even more. I'm going to say my forecast is 1650 for my Able product and 600 for my Apple product. Let's recalculate that. All right. And I'm going to go to my production HR. Again, if 1650 is my estimate, I'm going to produce a little bit more so that I don't run out of stock, because I don't have a lot of ending finished goods. So I'm going to keep producing here. 600 is my forecast. I'm going to produce 650 rather. Well, we can go ahead and produce 700 just to make sure we don't run us out of stock of our new Apple product. We did increase our promotion activity there. All right. I will also, once again, increase my automation. I want to make my low-tech product as inexpensively as possible. And I'll increase my automation a little bit for my high-tech as well. I will continue investing in my recruiting and training. All right. And now I'm going to go from there to my finance page. Let's just take a look at what my ending cash balance is. It is still low, but you know what? Again, my long-term debt's not a big slice of this pie. So I'm going to borrow some more money. I'm going to borrow about $5 million because I want enough in my ending cash position such that if I overestimated my sales, I'll have enough in my banking account, my checking account, to cover all of my operating expenses. And generally speaking, once again, just as a reminder, what you would like to keep in your ending cash balance is at least 5% of your sales revenue. 10% will be 7 million, 5% will be like 3.5 million. I have somewhere about that much, a little bit more. So I feel good about that. My long-term debt looks fine. I'm not worried about that. But I am going to go to my TQM. And again, I explained it in the TQM video under last week's module. Go back and watch the module. But basically, most of us won't have enough money to spend the maximum amount, which is $750,000 on each one of these initiatives. You're going to have to focus it. And you'll have to look at the eye for each initiative to see what it impacts. And these are all the potential impacts. And you look at the impacts: material, labor, R&D cycle time, administration cost reduction, and demand increase. All these are good things. But which one is most important? Well, for that, I'm going to go back to my income statement. And my income statement tells me that my largest expense by far, my largest expense is my direct material cost. That's a lot. So I would like to spend as much money as I can to reduce that. And how do I do that? Well, let's go to our TQM, which is a very helpful decision menu. All right. For some reason, it's not letting me. Let's go back. Let's go to the TQM, and I'm going to look for all of the TQM initiatives that attack material cost. Here's one. All right, so I'm going to spend the max. The max you can spend in any one round, $750. Let's see, what is this one? This one's material and administration. I get a double bonus there, double benefit. What is quality initiative training? Well, that's labor. I'll wait on that one. I'll get to that eventually. Increased demand is good. I'll wait on that one. This one is for reduced R&D cycle time. Again, I'll wait on that one. This one reduces material cost and raises demand, double benefit. So let's invest in that one. Again, you don't have enough to invest in all of these. You want to invest in the ones that immediately attack your biggest problem. This is R&D cycle time. Six Sigma is a really good one. We'll invest in that one as well. So when we hit the recalculate, we are spending $3 million this round on TQM initiatives, but we're getting good benefit. We're getting at least 2.3% reduction in our material cost and maybe as much as 3%, and some additional benefits as well you can see on these 4 initiatives. So once again, I'm going to go to my pro forma income statement and make sure that this makes good business sense. I am making money. I don't see any red there. You can see my TQM expense right here. You can see that this reduced already my material cost a little bit, and I'll continue to get material cost reduction in future rounds too, if I continue to invest in TQM. So invest in TQM early and invest in TQM as much as you can, given your financial resources. So you always have to check your finance menu last, even after your TQM. And I see I still have enough in my ending cash balance, even after my TQM initiatives. And I'm going to go to my pro forma balance scorecard and make sure that my score is going up and not down. And I see that it is going up. That should be enough to reach the 50th percentile. I'm satisfied with this. Upload my official decisions. All right. I'm going to save that. All right. And now I'm going to exit out. Okay. And I'm going to go back to my dashboard, go to the next round. Okay. When I go to the next round, I am going to look at my balance scorecard, reports, debrief reports, balance scorecard. And actually, I didn't achieve what I thought. So I had some forecasts that were a little bit too high, or my costs were too high. I still reached the 50th percentile here. And overall, I have the 57th percentile. That's cumulative. So what I would probably do is look at my reports to see where I got it wrong. I'm going to look at the industry report, my fast track, and I'm going to see where I got it wrong. I did reach the 50th percentile. So as in terms of achieving my 100 on that, I got it. But look, my profits are too low. I might have overspent on some things. I could go back and reduce my spending. I did make some money, but not as much as I thought. So what I would probably do, and looking at my forecast for Able was a little bit too high. I lost some market share with Able, and it looks like it might be, looking at Able, it might be that, let's see, my size and my performance were all good. But it looks like I might have overspent on the product itself. That's where I got it wrong. My price is not bad. My age is not bad. I could spend a little bit more on my promotion and sales, but it's not all that uncompetitive. I think my biggest problem with Able is that I spent a little bit too much R&Ding the product. I went too far with the product. As far as my Apple product, I did sell more with the Apple product. I was the number one seller in the high tech, so I did really good in the high tech. If I were going to try to improve the score, I would go back and try to make some product adjustments for my Apple product so that I could hit it right there in the intersection and maybe save a little bit of money on it, maybe on the reliability, so they could offer a slightly lower price on it. And that would probably increase my demand and increase my profits. That's what I would do if I were going to replay this round. I'm not going to do it in this meeting today, but that's how we want to go about these practice rounds, is you want to make sure really fast, but you want to make sure that your scores are going up. If they are going down, then go back and tweak your last round decisions to see what happened. Look at that fast track report first, and then find out where your weaknesses are and what you need to change or adjust, what you need to fix, and then go back and replay the round. You can replay it as many times as you need to is before you go to the next round. But don't go to the next round unless your score is actually improving. If it's not improving, then something is going in the wrong direction. Something is wrong. Any questions about this, guys? I want us to keep trying, keep at it. We want to finish all 4 rounds. I want you to focus on that this week, because next week we will start the team competition. But again, you can't be put in the team unless you have finished all 4 rounds. Any questions before we sign off? Today's meeting, it kind of went a little long. Any questions?
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
How do you fix the zero cash issue on the capism? Because I keep getting like I have no cash. I wasn't sure if that was like how to handle that.
If you don't have cash, it means that, are you taking out loans every round?
No.
Okay, so
I
you've got to take out a loan. Everybody's got to take out a loan. You're not going to be able to do all these things without taking out a business loan. So you're going to take most of the loan out of your long-term debt, not your short-term. You can borrow some short-term up to $1 million, because that you have to pay back next year. It comes directly out of your profits next year. But the long-term loan, you have 10 years to pay off. So if you keep going into a zero cash balance situation, it means you have an emergency loan, and you'll need to go back and replay that round and borrow money first and then replay the round. And you're probably going to need to borrow the max amount, because most of us are trying to invest in a lot of things to grow, and you'll need funds to grow. Your stock price is not high enough to sell stock. That's not a good choice. So your only choice is to borrow money, and you want to borrow money long term so you have 10 years to pay it back. You can take out as many loans as you want. You can take out a loan every round. Some students start repaying their loans back. You don't have to do that. If you want to start repaying them back, if that's an issue, in later rounds, that's fine. But in the beginning rounds, you need funds to grow.
Okay,
Good
thank
question.
you.
Yes, good question. Anybody else have a question before